Hello, everybody. Today we are talking about teenagers. I have had so many people reach out to me and ask so many things about teenagers. So I've decided we're going to make this whole week a bit of a teenagey type week. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take these principles if you have younger children and apply them in younger ages. And in fact, if there was one common thread amongst all the parents of teenagers, it would be that when they come to me, they say, gosh, I wish I had have crossed paths with you 10 years ago. I wish I had have applied some of these principles back when my kids were 4 and 5 and 6 and 10. So I'm going to share examples in relation to teenagers, because a lot of the time I do share examples, and analogies in relation to younger kids. So we're going to have a teenage focused week. However, every single principle here can be applied to a younger child. And if you're out there with a younger child and they're not a teenager yet, do not allow yourself to even consider that you don't need this, because at some point your child is going to be a teenager. So this is use what I share this week as a way to almost like a preview of what lies ahead for you in the future. Because it's like having a crystal ball. If you can look into the future and know what's coming for you or what might be coming for you, then you get to make the adjustments now so that you can redirect that future however you feel you need to. Now, in regards to teenagers, I'm going to start with this one really big message. I want you to receive this deeply into your heart. The biggest gift, the blessing, the best thing we can do as parents for our teenagers is trust them with their own lives. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little bit spiritual on you here and explain to you why it's not random that there's this there's this stigma around teenagers and how all of a sudden overnight they become these crazy emotional creatures and they start locking themselves away and they start being snappy and moody and all of these things. None of that is by accident. I was actually having a conversation this morning with somebody from one of the parents from the online program, and she said, last week you shared a video and you gave some really good examples that worked for my younger kids, but I'm struggling to apply that for my teenager. And how do I give my teenager access to her power bucket? Because I talked in the power bucket video last week about letting your child choose what spoon and choose what cup, and obviously teenagers don't care about that. She's like, how do I give my teenager her power? So now, and my response to her in a nutshell was this: when our children become teenagers, it's time that we adjust the filter that we have. And instead of looking at through the filter of a parent, we shift that into looking at how they do life through the filter of being their partner. It's time that we start making the shift to being their partner in life rather than their parent of their life, if that makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean don't take this to some extreme and jump in here with all your hate mail and say, oh, that's ridiculous. Of course, there are boundaries, and you are always a parent. And there is a time and place for you to step in and be that parent. But just as importantly, there is a time and place for you to step back and be the partner and let them guide their life. Okay. You are not always going to be here. And I believe that our responsibility as conscious parents is to set them up to be able to do life without us. Okay, which means you need to use these years to help them tune into their own intuition, to help provide a space where they feel safe enough to explore different things and find who it is they are. Because as soon as they know who they are, it becomes easy to make decisions that are aligned with that. And anytime they make a decision that is out of alignment with who they are, they have an internal guidance system that lets them know. They feel the guilt. They feel like they've let themselves down. They feel the self-dishonor, the self-betrayal. And that will guide them in life far more than your parenting lectures. Understand that as your children become teenagers as well, this is where you as a parent become most triggered. So quite often, what a parent is trying to control in their teenager's behavior isn't anything wrong in regards to the teenager. It's just a wound that is opening up for the parent. It's a wound that the teenager is touching of the parents. Most of the time, you aren't actually parenting through the filter of what is of the best interest of the child. Most parents unbeknowingly, because it's happening subconsciously, and it's very confronting to admit to yourself. But most parents are parenting their teenager through the filter of their own shame, of their own need for approval. Like it's you with your own baggage about your child's decisions and how that might reflect on you, because you're still stuck in a belief system that your child is yours and that they are a product, and that somehow you are like the clay master that's supposed to mold the child into the exact structure you believe that they need to be. That is not true. Our children are not ours. They come through us, but they are not from us. Okay. So let me share with you why this transition happens in the teenage years, because it's not an accident. In fact, it happens in the tween years. So we have 6. I'm going to go a bit spiritual on you here. Okay. If you don't like spirituality, probably a good time to just press the stop button. But if you want to come deep with me, let's go deep. Okay. I cover this kind of information in my soul parenting program. So if you're sitting there hungering for this, and you want some more information, comment down below soul parenting, and we can get in touch with you and give you that information. Okay, it's the deepest program you'll ever do online. Anyway, so what happens is this: we have 6 different energy bodies, okay? And I'm going to refer to the 3 lower energy bodies. So we have our physical body, then we have what's called the etherical body, which is our energy body, and then we have the astral body. The astral body makes up the lower part of the soul, okay? And it actually also encompasses the ego in there, okay? But ego isn't all a bad thing. Ego is really not a bad thing, the way that, society and, all these so-called spiritual people have made ego a completely bad thing that you should get rid of. And absolutely not. All of your boundaries are contained within your ego. But anyway, another conversation. Don't get me started on that. So here's what happens. The astral body is the lower part of our soul. Okay. And somewhere between 11 and 12 years old, the astral body makes its connection to the etherical body. That's our energy body. Our energy body then connects to our physical body through our nervous system. This is why things that happen to us emotionally in our energy body can manifest as physical illness in our physical body, right? Because we have physical body, we have matter, we have organs, we have bones and things like that. But the etherical body is the energy that makes the organ work. We've got blood, but the etherical body is the energy body that moves the blood. Okay, so they are ingrained and connected through the nervous system. Now, up until the age of about 11 or 12, the astral body doesn't have a connection to the etherical body. It makes its connection between around about 11 and 12, right? Depending on when exactly the child was born. Whole nother story. Anyway, here's the point of this. The lower part of our soul houses like everything related to our soul, including our suppressed emotions. So during our life, we have certain experiences that we aren't able to cope with at the time. And because we aren't able to cope with them at the time, we suppress them and we push them away. But that energy still, we push it away from our mind and our mentality and our all of our kind of psychology, if you like, but it gets housed in the soul. Now, there's a reason why that happens, and I'm not going to go into detail of that, but essentially, all of those suppressed energies are connected to memories. Okay, now here's what happens. When the astral body connects to the etherical body, anything that was suppressed in our soul throughout our life, it now has an avenue for expression, because it now can go from the astral body through the energy body and then into and manifest in our physical experience by way of being mirrored by the world around us, or reflected in other people. We call all these things into our lives so that we can expand, we can see them, and we can expand through them. So here's why your teenager all of a sudden gets, so emotional and so up and down and so moody. They don't even know why. And you as a parent are like, why? Why are you like this? What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. Well, if you're not going to talk to me, I can't help you then. they actually don't know. They just have a lot of feelings coming up. They don't know. It's not connected to their brain that goes, oh, here's the file, here's the memory, here's exactly what happened on that day. It doesn't do that. It goes, hey, this is a suppressed emotion. This is something you felt at some stage that you weren't allowed to feel. And so because you weren't able to process it, I stored it for you, or it never left you, okay, because it was stored. And now that it's got a connection to the energy body, it has a means to come through us. This is why, for those of you, that are adults on the healing journey, you know this yourself. You get all these disturbed emotions. And when you do the deep work, you can do all different kinds of processes where you have memories of where this comes from and why you feel like this and why there's a pattern in your life. It all starts happening between 11 and 12 when the astral body makes its connection with the etherical body. Okay. So number one, do not ask your teenager, what's wrong? Why are you feeling like this? Why won't you get out of bed? You're going to waste your life. You're going to end up a nobody if you don't get out of bed and do something with your life. Listen, they are processing. Okay. And being able to honor themselves is the most courageous thing, most courageous decision they could ever make. And it's the biggest blessing a parent could ever offer to them. Just because you think, well, nothing happened to you today or yesterday, so what's your problem? Why have you got this attitude? That doesn't mean, just because it didn't happen yesterday, doesn't mean it hasn't happened. And if it happened at some point in their life and they never had the environment they needed to feel safe enough to fully express that, guess what? It's going to come up now. And guess why? Now that all these emotions are coming up, guess what happens? The teenager now has an inner voice that you've put there throughout their life that says, what's wrong with me? Because if I'm feeling something, then something must be wrong with me because I shouldn't feel like this. And I don't know why I feel like this. I can't remember the exact memory that this comes from. I don't even know it's a suppressed emotion. All I know is I'm experiencing it now. And what happens is, because throughout their life, we isolated them when they had big, heavy emotions, and we told them off, and we sent them to their bedrooms, and we gave them punishments, and we gave them silent treatment, and we said, get away from me until you can be what I need you to be, and do not come back in this room until you can act like this and talk like this and behave like this. Guess what? All of that now comes back to bite us, because now we can see our teenagers struggling. We can see them processing something. But guess what? They don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to bring it to us, because they've been taught, they've been programmed that when you've got big, heavy emotions, you deal with that alone, and I don't want to know about it. Okay. Now, if this is breaking your heart to hear this, because you're like, oh my gosh, it makes sense, but I never realized it before, it is not too late. I even have people in the online program who have 19 and even 22-year-olds that had so much trauma back in their childhoods that they actually ended up, some of them, one girl in particular, with anorexia and bulimia, and and many of them suicidal from the ages of, some of them even 9 years old. But many parents in the online program with teenagers that are 15, 16, 19, 22, and we have been able to completely transform their relationships with their children. Completely. It is never too late. Think about it. You might be a I don't know, a 45-year-old adult, right? And how much would it mean to you if your 65 or 70-year-old parent, even at 45, came and connected with you and sat with you and said, hey, I realize that I've made some mistakes. And I realize there's been some needs of yours that I haven't met. And I know your life has been a whole lot tougher than I ever let myself believe, because it was too confronting for me to face. And I just want you to know that I get it, that I see it. I know I can't fix it now, but I want you to know I'm sorry. And I want you to know, if there's anything I could do, if there's anything you do need from me, that I would love the opportunity to provide that to you. And I'm sorry that you've been left with a mess that I created. Even at 45 years old, from a 70-year-old parent, that would matter to you, wouldn't it? You would feel seen, you would feel heard. And in that moment, you would heal. Because when we feel heard, we heal. Okay, so it's never too late. If you want to go down that road, if you want to have these deep conversations with me on a one-on-one type basis, we have a space for that in the online program every single Tuesday night on our Zoom calls. Comment down below online program, and you can get a free parenting support call where we can hear about your challenges and you can hear all the details to see whether or not that is the next step in your parenting journey. Okay, but in addition to that, I am going to cover some teenage topics on the upcoming webinar. So make sure you comment down below #webinar. It's completely free. If you want to get access to the registration link when it comes out, it's not available now, but when it comes out, we will prioritize anyone that has watched these lives and commented #webinar. You will get the first chance to register before we put it out publicly and the lines book out, within minutes. So comment down below #webinar or online program if you are wanting to do the deeper work and to not leave it another minute. The webinar's a month away. If this has resonated with you, you know that's not by accident. You know nothing happens by mistake, and you were here today listening to this whole video on purpose. Okay, so follow that feeling, follow your guidance, and let's create a space where we start to trust our teenagers with their own lives. We start to create a space where they have the ability to tune into their own intuition, to their own internal guidance systems, because that's the only thing that's ever gonna remain with them through their lives. So teenage years is not about parenting as and creating an obedient, compliant child, as much as it is about actually guiding and partnering with our children so that they allow us to be a guidance system for them as they navigate their way through their feelings and their thoughts and their decisions. We aren't here to do the navigating for them. We are here to be a guidance and to shine a light on some new perspectives and a higher level of consciousness in a place where they feel safe to be able to really do the self-inquiry, find out who they are, and make decisions that align with who it is that they know that they are. Parenting this way takes a whole lot of courage. It takes courage to reach out. It takes courage to say, hey, I need help. It takes courage to say, shit, I've stuffed up. I can see some damage, of course. How do I fix that? And it takes a whole lot of courage to break away from the outdated, limiting belief systems that a parent is supposed to control a child and that you should have control over your teenager and that all of their behaviors are a reflection of you. It takes courage. So please find the courage to break this cycle. Like the next generation are relying on us for this. As you depart from here today, please depart from here with courage. The courage to believe in a better way. The courage to voice what you've got to say. The courage to thrive when times are tough. And above all else, the courage to know you are good enough. Goodbye.